obviously no one's mental health has been particularly great over lockdown, least of all young people. And obviously one of the things that I've found personally that's helped me is scouting.
You said it's been weird, but I suppose it's been even more weird for certainly people going from year 6 to 7 and those leaving second or starting sixth one, because that's a big step in itself, and that can be very new, just going into education. So I suppose it's even more, well, not pressure, but it's certainly going to be even weirder, as you said, because of all these restrictions and rules.
Because when I was at secondary, I did a lot of work in the library after school, and I found it a lot easier to do my work there because I wasn't distracted by my phone or my computer or whatever, and it was just, a lot easier to concentrate. So I thought it was going to be really hard having to do all my homework at home in my room now, but it hasn't been that bad, and I think it might be better for me really, because then it's easier to get into the habit of doing work in my house.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Brightening Barrow. Today we're going to be talking to Liam, who's going to tell us about scouting and college and how this can help with your mental well-being. Liam.
Hi guys. Okay, so obviously no one's mental health has been particularly great over lockdown, least of all young people. And obviously one of the things that I've found personally that's helped me is scouting. So just by doing those little bits, getting involved with the online Zoom meetings, the very few face-to-face meetings, that kind of thing. Now, we all know that the coronavirus pandemic has been really difficult on our young people. One of the things that we found particularly great for them is giving them things to do, challenges, tasks, opportunities to speak to each other. So, for example, the other week, we actually held our first virtual meeting. And this was massive for the clubs, We only got a few join, obviously, because it was only the first time, but straight away they engaged, they loved seeing each other, they couldn't wait to tell each other about what they've been up to over lockdown, couldn't wait to tell us about what they've been up to over lockdown. And although we only did simple games like Hangman and a little bit of scavenger hunt and a bit of a quiz, they absolutely loved it. And we've already got plans next week to do like cake and a mug and that kind of thing. So it's really, really clear there that scouting has massively that one session has massively impacted their mood for the day and possibly their mental health for that week as well. So it's really kind of important not to underestimate things such as scouting and clubs and activities going on as well. And that's true when you look at it in scouting terms and both also in education as well. So from a college perspective, we're really keen to get the student union, our clubs and societies back up and running, because it gives students something to look forward to and something to do. And ultimately that is, again, massive for their mental health. That aspect of socialising with other people, other like-minded people, can do absolute wonders for them. And the student union at our college has actually released a new welfare resource designed to kind of aid this. It's called the Lockdown Hub website. It's lockdown-hub.com, and it's kind of full of amazing tips, tricks, games, new skills, that kind of thing, welfare resources to kind of keep people just try and help people improve their own mental health and that kind of thing, look after themselves during lockdown. So I really think it's important to not underestimate anything like this.
You mentioned that you'd done your first virtual meeting with clubs this week. What sort of things are you hoping to do? You said what you started with and what you were looking into doing. How far do you imagine that you can take this? What sort of things could you do? Does the virtual meetings open up more possibilities, or does it restrict it?
So, I think it's important to mention that we're starting to go back to face-to-face. So it's not about kind of opening up more possibilities, it's about opening up different possibilities. So we're still doing the face-to-face stuff, we're still socially distant walks and activities, getting the clubs to see each other in person. But the Zoom meetings give us a chance to really interact with our clubs on a very kind of basic level, just in between these meetings. So it won't be that some of them will be shielded, some of them will be self-isolating, but the chance to just join the Zoom call and interact with each other is obviously it's massive for them. It does offer a wide range of things we can do at home as well, so things that we've not been able to do previously. So one example is home help badge. Now obviously this is very difficult to do at clubs because there's absolutely no proof that the clubs have done any help around the home at all. But if we get our clubs doing a cooking challenge with us and then we we help, like, show them how to wash up over Zoom, and we can see them washing up after the cooking challenge. That's obviously masses of evidence towards their home help badge. So in a way, it does open up new opportunities, but obviously it does restrict some of the more traditional scouting opportunities, such as outdoors and adventure.
So after the pandemic ends, the lockdown restrictions have released, which is inevitable no matter how long that takes. It could be well into next year, it could be the start, it could be even further. Do you think that you would continue to sort of do virtual meetings as a different experience? You mentioned with the home help badge. Would this be another way to involve people who for whatever reason can't get to scout, they might be ill or something? Is this something that you would look into doing, even when we're getting back to face-to-face meetings permanently?
Yeah, I think what you've done there is raise an interesting point, because when we go back to face-to-face, I think that is, it will be on a weekly basis, it'll be face-to-face. But I think there's a lot of potential there to meet up with other groups virtually, and even groups abroad. So there's no reason why we can't use technology and use Zoom now that we're all kind of getting more comfortable with it, to meet up with a group in France, or to become pen pals with a group in South Africa. So it does open up new and unique opportunities that can be explored further when we're back to face-to-face. But in terms of the day-to-day, kind of week-to-week delivery of scouting, I think that Zoom will probably take a bit of a backseat in terms of meetings. But yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, every group will do it differently. They're just my thoughts on it. You might get some leaders hate Zoom meetings, some leaders absolutely love them. Yeah. So obviously, it's going to be different for each group.
I have been at home from school for like 3 days, and I've been going in doing school lessons on Zoom. Well, not on Zoom, on like Teams and stuff. So I've been able to, like, obviously not be in the lesson, but I can still learn all the stuff from home. So it's quite like a good way of doing things. I know that my computer science teacher has been doing that sort of thing for a long time, because you can record the lesson and then put it on so that other students can then download the lesson and listen to it again if they need help with the homework or anything.
Yeah.
So it's like a good idea to do this maybe in the future as well, if there's like benefits. There is benefits, and yeah.
You said there were benefits to this. What sort of benefits are there? Is it again like with the scout meetings? Occasionally, some of that is a little restricting. Is virtual teaching, is that restricting because you can't have that one-to-one that occasionally you can get if you're really struggling? Or can you? Does that make it easier? Have you had any experience with this?
Well, I think in terms of what you're saying about Zoom there, about is it beneficial or not, I think the thing is about virtual delivery of anything is it's not necessarily beneficial one form or another. I think it offers different benefits and different challenges. Like Maisie said, the Zoom lessons can be recorded, put on for the students to use anytime, and that obviously is a great way to revise, because if you've got the lessons there, you can rewatch the lessons, are the ones that benefit you most anyways. And it's also more flexible there for the students, because then it allows them to say they can't make a lesson for some reason, and they've obviously still got that catch up of the lesson being there, as opposed to traditionally just copying work or filling out a worksheet. But obviously you do get that missing kind of element of face-to-face with the tutor, of having that much easier ability to ask questions and get a response in real time. And then of course there's always the issue of that not everyone's as comfortable with technology.
Yeah.
So whilst computer science tutors, you'd probably say if they're probably going to know how to use Zoom, and it probably won't be the same with every tutor in the college.
No. So obviously the pandemic has forced us to look to new technologies like Zoom, like Teams, and other virtual meeting platforms. You said that for scouting, definitely it's a new opportunity when we get back to normal scouting to do meetings or something with groups around the world, because obviously scouting's around the world. Is this how long no, what am I saying? Can this also be implemented in teaching, you think? So already, because they've had to, teachers are pre-recording lessons, they're recording the lessons they're doing anyway. sort of for physics, all of our lessons are videos, and we just go in the classroom to do the questions and as a tutor or anything. Do you think that would be a good way to go forward, sort of doing that anyway? That becomes sort of a new practice for schools and sixth forms and education services.
I can see the appeal of schools wanting to do that, because obviously it offers them a lot more kind of efficiency with the tutors. If the tutors aren't delivering lessons, they can be spent more time working with classes, so they can have a greater number of classes on the go. So I can honestly see the efficiency in schools doing that. But I think that long-term delivery of lessons online as basically YouTube videos is going to be more detrimental to students' learning than anything else. Because a year ago, if I'd have told you that I'd learned my A-level physics off watching YouTube videos, you'd have told me I was probably going to fail.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're telling students that they need to learn their A-levels, their A-level physics and all this kind of thing through videos, and then have time going into the classes to do questions. So I think at the minute it's about balancing expectations, but I think long term we need to get students back in the classroom, because we need to get them face to face with the tutor, because it's more than just kind of having that chance to ask questions. It's that if I don't understand it, it allows them there and then to explain it using a different method, to explain it using a variety of media as well. So it might be that if I said I didn't understand the first way he explained it, he tried it a different way. And then if I didn't understand it then, the tutor might go get out a quick experiment to do to explain it further. And obviously you miss all that on video, because they'll just have to assume that you've understood it the first time round.
Yes, so in the short term it's very useful, but if for long term it's not going to work at all.
No, that's my opinion anyways.
Okay, Maisie, what do you think?
I think that you can, like my teacher said that it's really useful to learn things before we go into class. So I think that's maybe one of the things that might kind of carry on after everything's over, because we can watch like a video before we go into class, and then I've already like learned some of the information, and then when we go into the lesson, it's just like solidifying that knowledge rather than learning it. And I know that some of the teachers have been doing that at college, and I think it's really been quite good, and it's like been a lot easier to learn things because you're not using all the lesson time on teaching things, and it's more, if you don't understand it obviously, then the teacher can teach you it again, but a lot of the time you do understand it the first time, and it's a lot of the lesson time is spent on just like relearning things that you already kind of know. So if you already know something before you go into the lesson, a lot of the lesson time is spent on like doing questions and doing like seeing past papers and stuff like that, which I think is a lot more useful than just learning it the first time. So maybe that's something that could be used again after, well, still used after lockdown's over.
In chemistry, right. So I'll start that again. My computer made a loud noise. In chemistry, our teacher gives us an information sheet to read before the lesson, pre-lesson. That's usually sent virtually. So if they were to say record a short video, or equally just a text file or something like that of what you're going to do in the lesson before you do the lesson, and equally you could probably do this for scouting. So if you were to do so the electronics badge, if you were to put out to all the scouts or the clubs or whatever, this is what we're doing. If you look at this or do this small activity, it will help you get the badge. Would that be a good way to go? Sort of combining what we've learnt in the lockdown with how we're going to do it. So overall, it works better for someone who's learning, whether that either be life skills in scouting or in education. Obviously, again at the minute, this is all virtual. But when we get back to face-to-face meetings, that's a regular thing. Where could you do it in? Just sort of the local area. Give us an idea of where you could do scouting, so Beavers Club Scouts, or something similar to that. Where could I go if I'm looking to start?
Yeah, so obviously in terms of gathering outside of scouting, it's important to remember that the restrictions are currently 6 people from 2 households. In terms of within scouting, this, because we're considered the youth sector, which is an essential service, the restrictions are 15 young people and 5 leaders as well. So there's a big difference between those 2 there. Scouting is, of course, allowed now inside and outside. So in theory, anywhere, any of the scout halls or any of the community halls where scouting usually takes place could act as venues for scout meetings. Obviously, like I say, it depends on the group and the risk assessment they put forward and that kind of thing. Outdoor scouting is much more common at the minute, because there's less of a risk assessment for that one needed. So like I know, for example, my group, we're looking at possibly the Barrow Sixth Form fields to do scouting. I do also think that Urswick campsite would be an ideal place for scout meetings to take place as well, but I'm not sure where the scout groups are. In terms of finding scout groups and kind of getting in contact in terms of meeting and that kind of thing, you can go on the National Scout website and kind of like do a group locator, and it should have local groups on there as well. Or if in doubt at all, you can always contact the district. They'll be able to point you into the right direction to a group.
If you're looking for these links, don't worry, they'll all be in the description below, so you can follow those if you would like to look into doing scouting. Before and after the lockdown, can we just talk about for a moment about what scouting actually is? So what is it? Why is it useful? What sort of things do you get up to? Question to both of you, because Maisie, you were in the guide, was it?
Yeah.
So what sort of things can you expect to do? Why is it so beneficial? It is, and that's proven through the people that have done it, and employers look for it. But why? Why is that such a beneficial thing to do?
Well, at guides we do lots of different things. It's a lot of teamwork, doing like crafts and stuff, but it's all about, like, really it's about getting all the badges and all that. So we do a lot of again, we do a lot of crafts, but we do a lot of like going camping. In the summer we do that pretty much every year, and you do like all sorts of stuff. It's really fun.
So I know from a scouting perspective, kind of why it's so important is that aspect of delivering skills for life for young people. So obviously we do things such as we go camping, we build catapults, we do all these kind of weird things that you don't really find in a scout group kind of thing. But what that all builds up to is it's not teaching young people how to build catapults, because that's not such a useful life skill nowadays. It's about teaching people teamwork, kind of trying the catapult, realizing it doesn't work. What can we do? Resilience, that kind of thing, critical thinking, problem solving. It's about teaching these young people all these amazing skills through kind of this fun vehicle of scouting activities. And it is massively successful, and as you pointed out, already proven to work. I think one of the key roles of scouting after the coronavirus, though, is going to be about bringing together the community. I mean, scouting has always had the ability to do this, but I think it's going to be even more essential afterwards in a world that's kind of becoming increasingly more divided and increasingly more isolated now because of coronavirus. Something like scouting, which has the power to bring people together from not just in the local area, but from up and down the country and across the globe, that's going to be massively needed in a post-coronavirus world. And the role of scouting and scout groups individually to get young people together and instill these kind of values of connectivity and social mobility is critical.
So there are.
God, you can tell I've been on all the seminars.
So there are world scouting events. There are the jamborees, but these are also done virtually. These have been done virtually for years, Jotty and Jota. Is that going to be is that going to be more prevalent now that we've had to do virtual scouting anyway? So is that going to be more of a thing? Is that because it's already a very big deal, but is it going to be made more prominent? Is it going to be more often than it is? Is it going to be more people involved? Where do you think that's going to head?
So I think Jota and Jyoti, I think they're going to become bigger events in their own right, because I know this year, you know, with the kind of the virtual jamboree that they had and with the map and everything like that, that was incredible. But I don't think that they're going to replace that element of getting 50,000 young people together in one place. I mean, if you look at the European jamboree in Poland, that's still very much going ahead. As far as I'm aware, the World Scout Jamboree in South Korea, that's still very much going ahead. You know, they're not being cancelled. You got World Scout moved in Ireland in 2022. So all these big international events, whilst, yeah, they can be replaced in theory digitally, they've got something going for them. When you're there and you're surrounded by 50,000 other young people, and you realise quite what a force for change and what an amazing movement this is, that can't be replicated digitally. And there's something about that'll always mean that face-to-face international events are important, and that things like Jota, whilst, like I said, they're big in their own right, they'll never match face-to-face meetings.
Okay, we probably should mention what actually is what is Jota? What is that sort of thing? Probably should mention what that is briefly.
So Jota and Jyoti, Jamboree on the air and Jamboree on the internet. So they're the virtual jamborees, you know, give people a chance to interact from across the world, over radio or over the internet as well. So I've attended a couple of them. They've been pretty good, to be fair. But obviously I've attended the World Scout Jamboree as well, and that's been it's all right, amazing.
Okay, you both mentioned that in both guides and scouting you go camping. Now, obviously that's been very difficult, but I know 17th Barrow, St Barron's, another local scout group, they managed to do a virtual camp. What is camping going to be like now? How practical are these virtual camps, and where could we go with sort of actually camping? Do we know the rules on that? So what do we think about camping now at the minute, and also where is it going to go? Are people going to want to go do that again?
So from a rules point of view, camping as we knew it as scouts and guides won't happen until we get to back to normal life, until a vaccine is widely available, or until we get very few to zero cases in the country. We won't have any kind of camping allowed by scouting regulations, and I imagine that guiding is the same. So that's really unfortunate. In terms of camping, how it looks like now, you hit the nail on the head. It's virtual camps for scouts. We're getting our scouts to build dens in the gardens and the living rooms and just camp there. And it's teaching them skills, it's letting them have fun, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know if anything's different for guides.
I don't think so. I think everything will be off. We have done a lot of. We didn't just do camping. We went to Liverpool once and slept in the cathedral and stuff like that. So I'd imagine that won't be able to happen too. But they might be able to do some sort of trips and stuff, assuming there's no lockdown regulations in the area, or going places. I'd assume would still be able to do if it was a small group.
So obviously the pandemic has really badly affected things such as scouting and education. With sixth form, obviously that's optional, and also scouting, that's optional. I mean, not everyone's doing it. Has this pandemic affected whether people will want to do that sort of thing? Is there going to be a drop, or has there been a drop in people wanting to do scouting and also going into further education?
Tough question. I think scouting will see a drop. Again, this is purely my own opinion. Scouting probably will see a drop because we've not had face-to-face meetings and camps and months now, 7-8 months maybe. So I imagine that we'll be lower on numbers than we initially expected. But I think the thing about scouting is that it's always resilient. So even if we do end up with slightly lower numbers, it won't impact scouting. Scouting delivery will still be the same. In terms of college, I can't speak for the numbers joining college because I think they're pretty steady. But I know in terms of like I said before about student union clubs and societies and that in college, we're finding that we have a higher engagement this year. And I honestly think part of that is down to there's not really a lot else to do, and it's all virtually. So they can join all this stuff from the comfort of their own home. Really, they don't have to go out to back to college at 5 o'clock at night to do Dungeons and Dragons Society or anything like that. You know, they can all do it virtually from home. So I really think that's been an interesting turn, because I was honestly not expecting engagement to go up, but it has done at college.
So, Maisie, you're a student at sixth form, and Liam, you do a lot of work there. So, from those two different viewpoints, what do we think? What do we think about going now? Now we've been back for a few weeks. How's that affected you individually?
It's offered a bit of normality going back, but it's definitely been weird. I don't know about you, Maisie.
Yeah, it's been very different. We've had to start washing our hands before lessons, and we're not allowed to. We have to swipes by the door everywhere, and class sizes are really small. It's just a bit, yeah, it's a bit weird. But I don't think teaching's changed that much. So we're still learning everything that we'd have been learning and all that, but it's just a bit strange.
So it's all to keep us safe, but I suppose that would make it not worse, but a little bit more difficult to get involved with how sort of secondary school and college life is normally without obviously the restrictions.
Yeah, so obviously as a college we've done a lot of work on the transition for people coming up. So we've done additional videos and that kind of thing, and all students, as well as going through an induction enrollment on the course, now also go through kind of like a bit of an induction video about kind of college and everything that's changed. The advantage that new students have is that they didn't really kind of experience the college life before all this, so they're kind of coming in and don't really have any kind of bad habits or any kind of habits to really depend on there. Whereas with returning students, you know, if you've got somebody who frequently hangs out in the student union area at college and is all of a sudden told that the student union area is now shut because of coronavirus, that's obviously, you know, that's a new set of challenges for them, and what do they obviously do with their free time now. So it's different challenges faced by both, but I completely see your point about it being even more nerve-wracking for people transitioning.
You said about the student union and places like that being closed. Certainly it's Barrow probably the other colleges and things. We're being told that unless we can't get home in between lessons, that's the only reason that we can stay in. Whereas normally you'd obviously be in a lot more doing a lot of studying. We've been told that it's best to do that at home just because of the restrictions. So things like the library are going to be used less. So what do the two of you think about that? Is that damaging the students in any way, or are they just going to be as fine, maybe better, if they're doing more of studying at home as well as obviously what we're doing in class?
Well, obviously, again, Maisie, I don't really know what your take on all this is, but literally the best memories I have of college, and the entire reason that made my 2 years at college amazing, was not the lessons or the support from the tutors or anything like that, which is all good in its own right, but it was sat in between lessons at the table with kind of all my friends, sometimes doing work, but I'll be honest, most of the time avoiding the work. And it was just kind of having that there, chilling out, you know, sometimes playing cards, sometimes just chatting, all having lunch together. You know, that was really what made my college experience, and probably what keeps me sane through A levels. So to have young people going through college and not having that kind of same safety net, or not even being able to go study in the library in the free times or in the independent learning area, is obviously, it's a much different college experience. And I I don't envy anybody going through college at the minute, and obviously I wish it was in better circumstances that they were in college.
I know for me, I was really worried because I thought, so I know to like turn my phone off and all that. I don't have to get into the habit of that when I need to do work at home. So it's already like a habit, so I don't have to worry about it. So it might be better in the long term. But yeah, I miss doing my work in the library.
Yeah, I'd say I'm very much the same with that. I would much rather be sat sort of in a school-like environment, so in college, just sat in the library doing work. I mean, I'll often just because of the way I travel to college, because I walk, I'll often get there a little bit early, or because I live quite a distance away, I've got this time between two of my lessons on one of those. I find that really useful because I can just sort of sit and get on with something. Usually I use this to get on with my EPQ research, because that's more difficult to do at home just because of what I'm doing. So would you have any advice for someone starting college, and obviously they've not had this experience of making new friends? Occasionally you might be able to talk a little bit to the person next to you, although they're not actually that next to you because obviously they're distant from you. Would you have any advice of what to do now, and also what to do going into next year, with the hope that next year it goes back to normal almost, and you can go in and just sit and study in between your lessons? You'll be in lessons more frequently, and you'll be allowed in college more frequently.
Well, the biggest bit of advice I can give from both a student and a staff member perspective, because I've had both, is do not wait for the opportunities to come seek you out. Go and find out what's happening at the college, find out about the student union, about the student reps, the socials that are going on, the other clubs, EPQ, all this kind of thing. Find out about what's going on. Because if you wait for it to come to you, you're going to miss out. Whereas if you actively go out of your way, coronavirus or not, to find out what's going on, you might just stumble on an opportunity that completely changes the next year for you. Because I know, speaking from perspective, if I hadn't have been forced into being part of the student union by my friends in second year college, I wouldn't have the job I have now. So that's obviously changed things for me massively. So really do go seek out the opportunities. That's my advice.
So even with the restriction, there are still some opportunities, like you said, with the student union. Just could you give us a few examples of what sort of new, not new, but sort of the different opportunities that you can, because you've mentioned that there's a virtual opportunity. You just give us a bit of an idea of what exactly you could be doing, because if you're watching this and you are at college, you might want to know what you can do, and if, which I hope not, you going next year and we're still in this situation, what could you start doing or looking into when you get to that point?
So Furness College Students' Union have partnered with the college and a company called Hello Future to deliver the Lockdown Hub website. So this is kind of like an amazing new resource that really kind of gives you an opportunity to complete the challenges and skills, and possibly even earn vouchers as kind of reward for it. But then also B, it allows you to, if you're interested, get involved and help develop the website further. This is very flexible, it's very student based. We want students to be doing a lot of the content, the design work, taking part in the challenges. And there are incentives for doing that. We also have the student rep scheme as well, which always runs, and obviously the student reps have access to the student union office, the resources the student union has. Again, incentives such as student discount cards, that kind of thing for the reps. And that, fingers crossed, that's going to be a really good scheme this year, because we're going to be working with a small core number of reps to really kind of offer them a load of opportunities and get them really involved in kind of what the college does and how decisions are made in the college. We've also, as ever, got the student union officers. These are much bigger posts than the reps, but they have a lot of fun doing it. Like, for example, our activities officer, which is what I was a few years ago, organises all the socials, all the bubble football, the quiz events, and obviously that's all come to a standstill, but there's still a wide range of opportunities there for them to organise virtual events, a wide range of opportunities for our welfare officers to organise, virtual welfare events and that kind of thing as well. And then the other thing is as well, the student union is pretty flexible. So if you came to myself based in student services and said, I've got an idea for this opportunity or this campaign, or I really want to run this litter pick or this event, myself, the student union, student services, we will make it happen. We'll work with you to make sure that you lead the event, but that we're offering all the admin support, the risk assessment, the funding, the financial side of things. So quite literally at college, the opportunities are endless, and that's before you even consider the clubs and societies, and the fact that the student union offers up to £200 for you to start your own club and society. So it's really, really kind of jam-packed with opportunities there.
So this episode we've been talking very heavily about further education at college and also scouting. Now, putting aside college, all the extra work, because that is quite a heavy workload, is that definitely beneficial for sort of your mental well-being and just your mental health in general? Is that something that's really beneficial from both of you? What would you think?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the person, doesn't it? I mean, if you're sat at home worried about catching coronavirus, and obviously you've got to ask yourself, is going in and doing a load of extracurricular activities really the thing you want to be doing? But at the same time, if you're anything like me, you've been sat at home bored out of your mind for 8-9 months now. You know, your whole life's been put on hold, and you just want to get back to doing something. Scouting and college and all these extracurricular things that college offer you a kind of way to do that.
So get involved where you can, with what you can, as long as you're comfortable. That should really help your mental well-being, especially at these times when you haven't been able to. So if you can get out and do things, do it. As Liam said, look for the opportunities, don't wait for them to come to you. So we now move to the section where we look at the good news stories.
Okay, so one of the positive news stories of the week is that the shoebox field has started up again in the furnace area for their 2020 campaign. Except this time, luckily, it's not just the furnace area that can get involved, but the entire Cumbria. So following kind of, responses from the north of Cumbria about kind of getting involved as well and how they can donate, they've now set up a donation centre in Milham Methodist Church. That's sitting alongside St Matthew's Community Centre in Barrow Women's Community Matters and Nan Tate Centre, Windsor's World of Shoes in Dalton, Wax Lyrical in Ulverston, Applesea's Health Store in Ulverston, and Fountain Street Dental Practice. So that's kind of like a really positive news story there as well. If you're also a college student and you wish to take part, the student services in colleges a drop-off point. Leave that with the student union, and we'll be able to donate there as well. So that's pretty positive this year. To donate, just you can just Google what items really that they need. But it's items such as toys, soap and cloth, toothbrush, toothpaste, educational supplies, some sweets, and the envelopes. Each box needs an envelope with £2 in it to help cover the cost of transport.
For those of you living near or in Milham, you may already know, but the new chippy that has opened there is apparently really good. It's been only open for a few weeks, but as you can now go out to have a meal, go order a chippy in Milham. Why
not? The Barrow councillor Hayley Preston and her sister Claire and her friend Maz has done their own Walk to Remember and have raised more than £700 for St Mary's Hospice after they planned to do the Coniston to Barrow but were upset when it was cancelled.
The bookworms among you, it may delight you to hear that the Lakes Library, which is in Ambleside, not local, but if you're willing to travel, that is to open next month. So that would be a great opportunity for you to get down and have a look at some books that may not be available in your local library. We've now come to the end of the podcast. Before we go, just a big thank you to Liam, and we'll see you next week.
Right, so thank you for watching episode 4 of Brightening Barrow. I'll be aiming to Brightening Barrow, one stream at a time. But yeah, I don't really know what players look for, to be honest, because I can't think of anything.
Right, if I can remember what it is, we'll just say one more thing and then we'll go on to the good news story. I need to get off that. So I'm going to say really annoying, I can't remember what it was.
Sorry, it happens to me all the time. I get in front of a PPT group at college and I'm going, right. No, never mind, I've forgotten that.